Right, guys, today I'm going to walk you through a full digital PR campaign that I did in November. As you can see, the campaign resulted in one, two, three, four canonical links and two syndicated links, all in the UK regional press, and the syndicated links ended up on MSN. This is the landing page. So how many of us are due a pay rise in April 2025? And then it's broken down by region and then by city. These are the places that we got in. So Somerset Live, the links there. The Argus, which is Brighton, a Brighton local newspaper. The link is there. Birmingham Mail. The link somewhere there. And then syndicated in MSN. So I'm going to show you my ideation process, how I built my media list, how I put the content together, how I pitched, and how I did the link reclamation. So it's going to be a super cut of some videos that I did while I was documenting this, plus a little bit of chat at the end. So it's going to be a little bit cutty, but it will show you step by step from A to Z how I got all those links. And the whole process took about 3 days. So 8 good quality PR links in 3 days. Not amazing, but not terrible either. And this is exactly how I did it.
All right, so today we're going to look at another way that you can find ideas for PR campaigns, and I call this one the supply and demand technique. So what you do is you start with a high volume keyword in your niche. You stick in title that keyword into Google News, and then you sort of play around with different variations of that keyword until you find something that there's clearly a lot of demand for. Then when you found something that there's a lot of demand for, you go back and Google that keyword and see how good the information there is on Google. And then when you found an imbalance between supply and demand, so high demand and poor supply, then you've got a good idea. So I know that was like a little bit abstract, but it's quite simple when you look at it. So to use the example of an employment lawyer. So this is Duncan Lewis, employment law solicitors, pay issues at work. And this is the type of stuff they deal with. So out of all of these, I'm just going to go for what I think has the broadest appeal, like it applies to the most amount of people, and that's a national minimum wage. So I put minimum wage into Ahrefs, and I see that's got like a ton of search volume in the UK. So then what I do, so I entitle minimum wage into Google, and I set it to past into Google News specifically. I set it to past year. And this is like your big head term. So what you want to do is you want to look at the stories, and you want to from what you see in the stories, you want to let that decide what's the next keyword you're going to use, right? So this is kind of too broad, so we need to like niche it down a little bit or narrow it down a little bit. So minimum wage rise, minimum wage increase, UK pauses drive to rise minimum wage. What are the implications of the rising minimum wage? Okay, so clearly minimum wage rise is a thing, so let's go minimum wage rise. Minimum wage rise gives boost to 2.7 lowest paid jobs. Rise in minimum wage leaves millions short of real living wage. Lowest paid will be $1,000 short of figure. That actually affects household costs. So now I'm thinking like I could do something that like crunches the numbers about like does the minimum wage actually cover your living costs? So I'm going to Google that, like, can you live on the minimum wage UK? I see that the answer is, the top answer is Quora, which is kind of just like speculation. We can click through to here. So there's not actually a proper answer to it. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to go like potential headline. Can you actually live on the minimum wage? So that's one potential headline. Let's go in title, live on minimum wage. Wage exemption for living workers. How much income is needed to live in the UK? P&O admits he could not live on £4.87 per crew pay. So that's under the minimum wage. Cannot afford to live. So there's a lot of newspapers talking about this. A lot of this is in the news a lot. Like we can even set it to last month. We cannot afford to live. That's New York, doesn't count. Let's go. Does this work? Like UK. Title, live on minimum wage. Cannot afford to live. So this story published a lot, but it's more of like an American thing. I'm going to go back to a past year. Working full-time at the national wage. So this is something people write about, and there isn't really like proper article on it, which makes me think if we do like a proper study into it, then there's a newsworthy story there. But the downside of that is like a proper study will be quite difficult to do. So let's see if there's anything easy you can do. So I see here, P&O boss admits he could not live on £4.87. The minimum wage in the UK is higher than £4.87. It's £11.44. So I'm going to go less than minimum wage. Make less than minimum wage for running from running my post office. To get less than minimum wage. Paid less than minimum wage. Okay, let's see if we can go to the past month. Nearly half of that was less than minimum wage 1 month ago, less than minimum wage 2 weeks ago. Paid less than minimum wage. So again, this is something that happens a lot. This is something that's written about a lot in the news, clearly. So I'm going to go line. How many people are paid less than minimum wage? And I accept that there is a degree of creativity you need here. Like I'm sort of turning these findings into headlines, and that's just something that comes with practice. You're not going to find the exact answer there, but it's just to give you ideas. But then we Google how many people are paid less than minimum wage, national minimum wage statistics. Click through. Now this is like an authoritative source. I think if a journalist is given, like, if a private company comes to a journalist and gives them some data on this, and then they can just Google the data and they see that there's this parliamentary data, they're going to trust the parliamentary data. They're not going to trust us. But let's just see what it says. Local Commission estimates that there are around 1.6 million workers paid at or below the minimum wage. At or below, so it does not say below. So it's at or below. So we can actually create something better if we can work out how many people are paid less than the minimum wage, not at the minimum wage and less than the minimum wage, but less than the minimum wage only. Then that's a potential headline that does not seem to exist at the moment. So then the next thing you look at is like, can we actually find this information? So I know that the Office of National Statistics in the UK publish a lot of salary data. So let's go Office of National Statistics salary data. Earnings and working hours. Average weekly earnings in Great Britain. Pure data used in the statistical bulletin. Average weekly earnings. Total pay. So here we do have the weekly earnings done by so these are the weekly earnings by sector, by industry that you work in. So let's say March 2024 weekly earnings in wholesaling, retailing, and hotels is 440 per week. Is the minimum wage 11.44. So there are 40 working hours in a week. So you go 11.44 multiplied by 40. That's 457. So 457 is higher than these. So that suggests that there are some people being paid less than the minimum wage. So there's a story here. How many people are being paid less than the minimum wage? Now we want to think about newsification. Can we segment this by job, location, gender, ethnicity, age, some of the key groups. So if you can be like, 10% of cleaners earn less than minimum wage, we could get in like cleaning magazines. Location's a very obvious one. If we can be like 30% of people in Manchester earn less than the minimum wage, then newspapers like the Manchester Evening News and stuff like that will want to publish that. Gender, we could tie into the gender wage gap. Ethnicity, it's a touchy subject. And then age, people talk a lot about age description. So you've got by industry, which is, we can do that. And then we've also got, let's see if we can do by region. Data set of earnings and hours worked by region and industry. And again, you have median earnings by region. And then it breaks it down. It's like full male, female, full-time, part-time. So again, if any of these, or even any of these, are lower than this number, then we've got a story. Oh shit, where did that go? And as you can see, quite a lot of these are lower than that. So yeah, there's the story. So we just got to crunch these numbers together. And then, yeah, we can say this is the number of people earning less than the minimum wage. But again, the key here is this demand. If you can see that journalists are writing about this, and are writing about this recently and in volume, and then you can also see that how many people are earning less than minimum wage UK. And then you can see the answer just isn't good enough. Estimates that around 1.6 million people will be being paid at or below the minimum wage. It's not below the minimum wage, it's at or below the minimum wage. And clearly journalists care about people being paid less than minimum wage. I mean, it's breaking the law, but there isn't information about this. The information is about at or below the minimum wage. That could mean that 1.6 million people are being paid at the minimum wage, but the journalists want to know about who's being paid below the minimum wage. That, combined with the fact that we have this information that says that, means that we've got a story on our hands. So again, it all goes back to playing around with the in title operator, seeing what the demand is, seeing where the demand is, and then Googling those keywords and seeing what the supply is. If we can create something better than what's there, that feeds these types of stories better than what's already there on Google, then you've got an angle. So I start off with what is the minimum wage, and it's £11.44 an hour for anyone 21 or over. I then combine this with this article, which says that people aged 16 to 24 make up 10% of the total workforce. So I went with, I'm assuming that that 10% is 16 to 21. So I'm making like a slight assumption there, but if anything, I'm being conservative, so I think that's okay. So yeah, I'm taking that into account, that 90% of the workforce should be earning at the very least £11.44 an hour. So I just multiplied 11.44 times 40, and that gives you 457.6. And that's the amount you should be earning if you're over 21. That's the amount you should be earning before tax per week if you're earning the minimum wage. So I googled Office of National Statistics salary data, and this was the first thing that I got. I downloaded the data set, and this was the data set. And this gives you the earnings by, that's the whole economy, that's the private sector, that's the public sector. So it's done by industry. So I thought, like, what headlines can I generate from this? And I was like, oh, people working in wholesaling, retailing, hotel and restaurants often earn less than the minimum wage. Which is an okay headline, but what I really want is I really want to be able to segment things by location, and by location really, because that opens up like local press angles, which is really want. So what I want is I want overall findings for the UK, and then I want local findings. So I went back to Google and I Googled Office of National Statistics median wages by region. And then I found this. And I got this file. And this breaks down the median earnings by region for full-time workers. And again, anything less than, what was the number again? Anything less than 457.6, you're earning under the minimum wage, assuming that you're over 21, right? And what I liked about this was that as well as segmenting by region, it's also segmented by gender. So you got male full-time, female full-time. And what I liked more about it is that I gave you percentiles. So that's like the bottom 10% of female earners, the bottom 20% of female earners, the bottom 25% of female earners. So this was the data set that I used. Now, the weakness of this data set is that it's 2023 data. But during my ideation research, I learned that the minimum wage went up. And I'll just Google this now. When did minimum wage go up? In April 2024. Wait, what? Okay, so I can't find it, but sorry, in 2024, minimum wage went up from, I think it was £10.56 to £11.44. Right. So I had to just, that was sort of the weakness of this data set. But I think, in my opinion, the fact that you can get percentiles and that you can get location and that you can get gender just makes this a stronger piece of data to get a story out of, because of all those angles it gives you. I'm happy to do that. I think that is better than using like the current up-to-date data that just gives you the data by very broad industry. What we want are like highly specific segments that we can target. So I had to tweak the headline slightly. Rather than being this is the number of people who earn under minimum wage, I tweaked it to how many of us need a pay rise to match minimum wage given the April 2024 price hike. So what I did is I sort of went through this, and then I grouped together UK male, UK female. And then I just did it by region and by gender. And then I did the 10th percentile, the 20th percentile, and the 30th percentile. And then here's what the minimum wage earnings was. And this just tells you whether the 10th percentile is higher or lower than the minimum wage. And here it tells you whether the 20th percentile is higher or lower than the minimum wage. And from that, from finding sort of the middle between those bits, I got an estimate of the percentage of people based on gender and where they live who are earning less, who need a pay rise in order to have their pay in line with the minimum wage hike. And these numbers I then multiplied by 0.9 to take into account the 10% of people who are under the minimum wage threshold, so the younger people in the workforce. So these are actually quite conservative numbers. I admit, it's not the most precise like mathematics in the world, and Like, I'm not writing a science paper, this is a PR piece. So yeah, this is the percentage of people who, based on these different regions and gender demographics, of who would need a pay rise when the April 2024 minimum wage kicked in order to be in line with minimum wage. So this is the article that I wrote. With minimum wage in the UK being increased to £11.44 in April 2024, we looked at the latest Office of National Statistics figures on median earnings to see how many people in the UK were earning less than this in 2023. Please note that our findings assume a working week is 40 hours, so that the minimum wage is £457 a week. Key findings: 13% of full-time workers in the UK need a pay rise to match minimum wage. So needed a pay rise in April 2024. Women are 70% more likely to be paid under the minimum wage than men. And that was based on the fact that 10% of men needed a pay rise and 17% of women needed a pay rise. So that's a 70% difference between men and women. Then the third key finding was just the lowest performing place and demographic. So women in the East Midlands are the most likely to earn under the minimum wage, with 27% needing a pay rise to match minimum wage. So I just want to add in here UK findings. Sorry, I didn't want to add that here. I wanted to add that here. Or UK findings. That's 17% of. No, what was it? Sorry, it was 13% of full-time workers in the UK, and then it was 10% of males and 70% of females. So it was. Let me just do that. 10% of. Okay, then we can do 17% of female full-time workers in the UK. Okay, so once I've got the key findings, I put in a table, basically this, but like a nicer looking table. So I would remove these bits, and I would just have the 10%. I would just have the region and gender, and then I would have the probably like the average earnings, and then I'd have like the percentage of people who need a pay rise in order to match minimum wage. So I'd put that table in there. And then I might have like an infographic as well, like, of the map of the UK, and then like labels pointing out from each region, being like number of males earning who need a pay rise to match minimum wage, and then number of females who need a pay rise to match minimum wage. Then I've got the findings just broken down by region and gender. So 13% of full-time workers in the UK need a pay rise to match the 2024 minimum wage. 10% of males, 70% of females. Then I've got the same for each region. So it's like for each region we've got overall number of males, number of females, and that is just repeated for every region. So the idea is that we can target a few different segments of journalists. We can have people who talk about the gender wage gap. We've got people who, on sort of the left, national news, but on the left, who will just talk about, workers being exploited just on a nationwide level, so we can pitch them these findings. And then we can also target regional journalists with these findings. And then I've got a comment. So commenting on these findings, Anthea Dave, who is this person. She's like the main employment lawyer at Duncan Lewis, said this: the majority of occupations where salaries fall under the minimum wage are in retail, care, warehousing, and transportation. These roles often have irregular hours, making it more difficult to keep a record of exactly what your hourly pay is. Which is kind of true. Like if you're working, 9 to 5 every day, you know exactly when you're working, you know exactly what you're getting paid. So it's easy to work out if you're getting paid minimum wage or not. If you're like driving from X location to Y location, like when do you start working? When do you stop working? It's the lines are a little bit more blurred, aren't they? So, ruthless companies can get away with, skimming extra hours off you without paying you. Then I carry on. Although the minimum wage is £11.44 an hour, this is calculated based on each individual paycheck. So if you work an average of 40 hours per week and are paid monthly, then your gross earnings must be at least 18,1830. If you're worried about talking to your employer about being paid less than minimum wage, then bear in mind that victimization laws prevent an employer from treating an employee less favorably because they've challenged potentially illegal employment practices. So we're just saying, like, don't be scared to talk to your employer about this because, the law has your back. Because I think that's what the journalist wants to tell people. The journalist wants to reassure people that they can, that they are entitled to be paid minimum wage and that they can challenge their employer on this. Again, we're going for quite a populisty type angle. And at the end, this is the methodology. So to find out the people who need a pay rise to match the April 2024 UK minimum wage, we looked at Office of National Statistics data on gross weekly earnings in April 2023. The report gave us the percentiles of gross weekly earnings for full-time workers by region and gender. And from this, we worked out the percentage of men and women in each region who are earning less than minimum wage. Since the £11.44 minimum wage only applies to people over the age of 21, we multiplied our percentages by 0.9 to account for the Office of National Statistics findings that 10% of the workforce is under 21. Our findings assume that full-time equates to 40 hours per week. So that's the content that we will publish on our site. And in my next video, I'm going to break this down into different pitches based on region and based on, gender wage gap findings.
Okay, so when it actually came to running the campaign, it was October 2024, and a new budget was about to be announced in the UK, and it was just about to be confirmed that minimum wage was going to rise to £12.21. So obviously you want your story to be as up to date as possible. So I changed that 11.45 number to 12.21, and then reworked out who is due a pay rise when minimum wage goes up, rather than who is currently being paid less than minimum wage, just to make the story more timely. While I was doing that, I also found this data set, which is just like the last one, but actually breaks down by individual cities. So it's more granular data, which opens up more prospects, because as well as targeting the bigger regional papers, you can also target really, really small regional papers. So this increased my media list from about 100 to about 400. So I did what I've just told you, but I used this spreadsheet, which still breaks things down by percentiles. So I work stuff out in the exact same way. but I changed my 11:45 number to 12:21. And this is the piece of content that I ended up with. So it was how many of us are due a pay rise in April 2025 when the budget actually kicks in, and then broken down by region and then broken down by city. So that's how I created my content.
So today I'm creating a media list based on regions in the UK, Office of National Statistics regions in the UK. It's a follow-up to my last video, which I'll link in the description, based on how many of us need a pay rise to match the minimum wage. And if you watch the video, I broke it down into the regions of the UK as set out by the Office of National Statistics. So we've got North East England, North West England, Yorkshire and the Humber, East Midlands, West Midlands, East England, London, South East England, South West England, Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland, right? So what we want is we want journalists who specifically cover those regions and who talk about minimum wage, workers' rights and stuff like that. So what you do, I'm going to start with North West England and work my way down. So what you do is you first Google newspapers that serve North West England, and we've got a big list here, and I know that some of these are bigger than others. So I know that the big ones here, the Manchester Evening News, the Liverpool Echo, the Lancashire Telegraph and Post, and the Blackpool Gazette, and maybe the Bury Mercury. And you just want to start with the biggest. So I'm just going to put that to one side, and I'm going to go cite. I'm going to start with the Manchester Evening News, because I know that is the biggest paper. Manchester is the biggest city in the northwest of England, so they have the biggest one. So it's manchestereveningnews.co.uk. So I'm going to go cite Manchester Evening News.co.uk. Then I'm going to go North West wages. And I'm going to set Google to the past 12 months. And then you want to look for stories that kind of similar to the kind of story we're pitching. So we're pitching, here's the number of people who need a pay rise to match minimum wage in the Northwest. So we've got that kind of works. That kind of works. That works. That definitely works. That works. That works. Cool. So we'll start with these ones. Phoebe Jobling, property writer. Not a great fit. Let's have a little look at what she's writing. So you can click onto their name and check their beat that way, or you can go into Muckrack and check their beat that way. This unfortunately is a bit slow. So I'm just going to go to, here we go. Property news, house prices, mortgages, DIY home transformation. So no. Politics writer. So there we go. Local government transporting housing, less homelessness, and politics. So no, this is too much about politics. Reporter. So what I'm going to do is do that, and then I'm going to do Damon Wilkinson, Muckrack, Chester. And this will also allow you to see what they did. So he sort of writes about everything. So it's kind of skewed towards politics, but he does write about everything. He does focus a lot on Manchester, and what we really want is people who write more about the Northwest. Morgan, senior reporter. I like this one. This is very similar to like what we're writing, so it's perfect. Personal finance, Greater Manchester. So this is one definitely. So William Morgan, William. Bio. And you can go to William Morgan, Muckrack. Cool. And if I wanted to snag the email, I could get the email here, but obviously that's if you have a Muckrack account. But with a lot of UK journalists, you can get the email without using a Muckrack account. And I'll link to a video that I made on how to do that here. So that was William Morgan as well. That is William Morgan. Imogen Clyde-Smith, senior reporter. Live news, crime, court features, Facebook Live. So they mainly talk about crime. So yeah, they're not that relevant. That's the same person. Kieran is in cost of living writers, so this is perfect. Yeah, so this is exactly what we want. And we've got an email for them as well. So Kieran Isjin. Kieran. And then the email is kieran.isjin@reachplc.com. Kieran.isjin@reachplc.com. And then you can put that in there. So I'm just doing Northwest now. So there's people who just talk about things on a Northwest level. So that's kind of relevant because that's about like how hard people have it. We could just do wages. So there's one. There's two. There's three. So Thomas George, senior reporter. Kieran Isjin, we got him already. William Morgan, senior reporter. Personal finance. Just wait, was he on our list though? He's on our list. It's annoying. Kieran Isjin is already on our list. Thomas George, senior reporter, features, investigations, live news. So I'm going to put this guy into Muckrack. So that's just general news. I think I will add him just because like his beat is so clearly the northwest. It's so clearly like he's written about Manchester, and he wrote about Liverpool. So Liverpool. So both of these places are in the northwest. So I think his beat is just any news in the northwest. So even though he's not the perfect journalist, I think he's good enough. So I'm going to add him to our list. George Thomas, and you've got his email as well. So it's thomas.george@reachplc.com. thomas.george@reachplc.com. Then what we can also do is we can go, I think there'll be there's a cost of living section, which we'll do because that's related to our thing. And there's is there like a business section? There's a business section as well. So Northwest Business Live. So let's see if there's any stories that are relevant to this. That's fairly relevant. Graham Whitfield, regional business editor. So that can be one. Cost of living. That wasn't anything that relevant there. Regional business editor for Reach in the Northeast. So we were doing the Northwest, but here's good for the Northeast. So I want to try and get a 10 for the Northwest and 10 for the Northeast. So I'm going to go Northeast, and I'm going to go for Graham Whitfield. Graham.whitfield@trinitymirror.com. Right, so that's Manchester Evening News done. The next biggest one is the Liverpool Echo. We've got Liverpool Echo. So it's liverpoolecho.co.uk. So you've got site.liverpoolecho.co.uk, and then you can go Northwest wages. So we've got one. So let's just go minimum wage. So then we can do that, and then we can do that. Got that. Got that. Let's do that one, and let's do that one. So Wesley Holmes. It's not giving us much here. Wesley Holmes, Muckrack. His email is there. So I'm just going to quickly copy that. That's Muckrack. See the other ones. So Kate Lally, SEO writer. She covers cost of living. So yeah, I'm definitely going to add her. So Kate Lally, Kate. Email address is kate.lally@trinitymirror.com. kate.lally@trinitymirror.com. So I'm going to put that, and then I'm going to go bio. Lovely. SEO writers, if you're ever doing a story like that's clearly targeting a keyword, SEO writers are exactly who you want. That's just a little tip for you there. So Wes Holmes, was he already on our list? Wes Holmes, journalist at the Liverpool Echo. So he writes for the Liverpool Echo and for the Blackpool Gazette. Liverpool and Blackpool are both in the northwest, so I think a northwest story would be right up his street. So I'm going to add him to our list as well. Wes Holmes. And we've got his email here. This you need to pay for, but this is just scraped from Twitter. So his email is just available on Twitter. And if a journalist's email is available on Twitter, it means that they're open. They're open to PR pitches. Some journalists just hate getting PR pitches, I think. But if they're like making their email easily available, then it's a good sign that they're going to be more receptive to a PR pitch. So we've done her. Olivia Williams. Let's see what she's about. Based in Liverpool. Breaking crime, features in human interest. This is all about crime, so I'm going to say no. Although technically not paying minimum wage is a crime, but this is more about like, getting mugged and shit like that. Jermaine Greer, content creator. So she just writes about anything and everything. Let's go on to her muckrack. Jamie. Did I say Jermaine Greer? I meant Jamie Greer. Jermaine Greer is someone else. Muckrack. Producing high quality journalism aimed at younger journalists. Sorry, aimed at younger audiences. I assume that the majority of minimum wage earners or people earning under minimum wage are going to be younger people. So, apologise for the noise here. I'm just pouring myself some tea. Oh, it's a guy. I wasn't expecting that. This area has been one of the nicest places to live. So yeah, I think high quality, covering news and culture. So it's basically everything. Yeah, I'm gonna add this person. Like, Liverpool drivers want police will target 5 major city roads. So they're just publishing like useful stuff for Liverpudlians, which this is, I think anyway. So Jamie Holmes, Jamie Greer. I don't know why I thought it was Jamie Holmes. Greer. So there you go. It's because that person was Wesley Holmes. And also they're making their email really easy to find, which means that they're open to pictures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Elia Rugg. Breaking news, crime, court fees. So no. Anything trending stories? So no, not really. Like that's the same person. Let's have a look at Levi Winchester. Levi Winchester, muckrack. So, money editor at the Daily Mirror. So she would be great for like a national angle. So I would add her to my list, but I would put her in a national thing. So I'm not going to add her to this list. Let's see. So we got Linda Howard. Muckrack. Scottish Daily Record journalist. Money writer at Daily Record. So she would be great, but again, it's for Scotland. So let's just say I'm going to put this down here. Move my ugly face. Scotland. Linda Howard. Linda. Cool. So I'm going to low pay. I'm going to do one more and then I'm going to move on. Samantha Leathers. It's not clickable. So then you go to Samantha Leathers, muckrack, Daily Express journalist. So she's not really a local journalist. So no. William Morgan. He's already on our list, isn't he? Linda Howard. Kate Lally's already on our list. Linda Howard is also already on our list. Liam Thorpe and Kate Lally. Liam Thorpe. Politics, social affairs. Yeah, so I'm going to add him as well. Social affairs is that falls under what we're doing, and he covers Liverpool, so social affairs. So Liam Thorpe. Liam. His email is here, so it's liam.thorpe@reachplc.com. Liam.thorpe at reachplc.com. There's his bio. So then the next biggest one is probably the Bury Times or the Lancashire Post or the Blackpool Gazette. I'm going to go for Lancashire Post. So we go Lancashire Post. Lancashire Evening Post, so lep.co.uk. So we go site, lep.co.uk. Then we go Northwest minimum wage. There we go, that's one. That's two. And we can just go minimum wage in oops, sorry about that. You can just go minimum wage in general. One. There's a few here, but let's just have a look at what we got. So we got Sam Quinn, digital reporter for both the Lancashire Post and Blackpool Gazette. So I'm going to put him into mock rack. My concern with this guy is that everything is like video journalism. So we would need some sort of video, I think. Or like some images. Yeah. Yeah, to be fair, he just publishes general stuff about Lancashire, so I cover almost any topic, but I love getting experience of anything firsthand, especially if there's a chance to do a food review. Let's just see what else we got. So we got Paul Faulkner. He's on like the sort of the maybe list, this guy. Lancashire's local democracy reporters. Decisions affect organisations. Decisions. Follow me. Planning health transport and how your money is spent. What do you mean? Council. So it's super local news. So not really. Paul Faulkner, that's also him. Jack Marshall. Senior reporter focusing on the property market, nostalgia, content, and lifestyle. So, not really. I'd say out of those three, Sam Quine is our most likely guy. But he's not a great person, but at the same time, what I want to avoid is just people who are so irrelevant that they might either block our email, like flag us as spam or anything like that. So I think it's not completely unreasonable that we're emailing him, but I accept that he's not the best guy in the world. Sam Quine at jpress.co.uk. So let's see if there's anyone that I've missed. Lancashire Post. What else could be big? It really is the Liverpool and Manchester ones that are biggest. So let's go Lancashire Post. Was that just what we were on? Okay, so Lancashire Telegraph. So they're not the same. So news, sport, recovery, cards. So let's go site Lancashire Telegraph.co.uk. Wages. One, two, three. And let's have a look at that and just see what else is being published in there. So Abigail Beanie, multimedia, blah blah blah. Politics, human interest, and business news. So yeah, that's good enough for me. Email abigail.beanie@newsquest.co.uk. Ah, shit. So that goes there. Abigail. Abigail. And here is her stuff. Oh wait, what does it mean? That's, nope. No. Let's see what. Kieran Doody. So I'm going to put them into my rack. Head of editor at GRV Media, so Hereford Times, Worcester News, Swindon Advertiser. So what I would do here is I would just look at who is the most. So it's Hereford Times is the main thing he does for. I don't even really know where Hereford is, but he would be a good person to email if we can work out where Hereford is and what the. So is Hereford in Wales? No, it's on the English-Welsh border, so it's east. No, sorry, West Midlands. West Midlands. I'm going to go for West Midlands. Kieran Doody. An email. Kieran.doody@newsquest.co.uk. Kieran.doody newsquest.co.uk. And that goes there. Okay, so I've got 10 for North West England. I'm now going to do North East England. You could go through all of these and get like as many as you possibly can, but I'm just going to do 10 to show you how to do it. But it just depends on how much time you're willing to put into this. Newspapers that serve North East England. And then we've got the same. So we've got Northern Echo, Sunderland Echo, Teesside Gazette. So Northern Echo, I think, is the biggest one. Is there like a... So biggest cities in North East England: Newcastle, Darlington, Sunderland, Middlesbrough. So Newcastle newspaper, Chronicle Live. Yeah, Northern Echo didn't seem right. Newcastle Chronicle. I think Newcastle Chronicle is Chronicle Live, right? So site Chronicle Live.co.uk. Sorry, and then I put wages. And I could put North East as well. So 1, 2, 3. Whoops. Sorry about that. 4, 5, 6. But it says Martin Lewis. This is just going to be syndicated everywhere, so I don't. I try to ignore those ones. If you're not based in the UK, Martin Lewis is like the biggest personal finance influencer in the UK, and is honestly like one of the most famous people in the UK. I would say, like, he is a phenomenon. Martin Lewis. It's taking ages to load now. Okay. Tom Keeley is a business reporter covering Northeast companies. So he covers companies specifically. So this is talking about, every article is about like a specific company. So it's not really what we're looking for. Richard Alt and Sam Volpe. So he's not clickable. So you go Richard Alt, Muckrack. Daily Express, Manchester Evening News, Kent Live. So he seems to write for loads and loads of different places. But Teesside Live, The Chronicle, Kent Live. So you can hit him from a few angles. The Sentinel Stoke seems to be his main thing. So what part of England is Stoke in? Central England. So it was either East Midlands or West Midlands. That's definitely West Midlands. So again, Richard Alter, I would put him in West Midlands. Again, I'm sure I'd be able to find his email that Mark Rack, but you know, you might as well take it. Tom Keeley, I think we went through him already. We decided it's not. Sam Volpe, health reporter. Nah. Kaylee Lindsay, Durham reporter. So the Chronicle. So she just writes. She says she's a dumb reporter, but she just writes about general stuff. And I think the fact that she is on staff for the Chronicle makes me think that she's appropriate, and we can just get her email address. So she's open to pitches. So I'm adding her to my list. Kaylee Lindsay, Kaylee, North East England. And Whitfield. Head of business for the Business Live. That's exactly what I want. Yeah, that's perfect. I was already on our list. Oh, I was already on our list. Bollocks. That's annoying. Sonia Sharma, parenting reporter. Don't think this is going to be that appropriate. So it's like writing aimed at parents. 10 favourite chocolate bars revealed. So again, even though she says she's a parenting reporter, she just writes about general news for the Northeast. So I'm going to add her to my list. Sonia.sharma@trinitymo.com. Annie Gook. Wait, what? That's a bit weird. So I'm going to go Annie Gook, Muckrack. Reach PLC. Acting senior editor, content innovation team. So what I want to see is people like this often they want to like create their own data studies rather than take ones from PRs. I think I've spoken about this before. Hard to tell. Worcestershire Live, The Mirror, Somerset Live. She also doesn't obviously have like a one set beat. She writes for everything. So I would put her just in the general UK angle. I would put her in the general UK angle. So I wouldn't put her in the Northeast angle. So I'm going to leave her to the side for this point. Rural tourism ports, that's not relevant. So then reload, like what is the next one? So we can go Northern Echo, Sunderland Echo. Let's go Northern Echo. Pages. Nothing. Okay, so that's clearly just not. Sunderland newspaper. So Sunderland Echo. So site sunderlandecho.com. And then we can go pay. We'll set it to last year. There we go, there's one. There's 2, 3, 4. Let's go 5. So I'm just thinking, like, are the journalists, based on what they've written, are they going to be interested in what we're pitching? That's always what you're asking yourself. Editor and local government geek. So general news in Sunderland. Let's see who else we've got. Unclickable. Daniel Holland. Local democracy reporter. Is he already on our list? If it's not, then I want to add him. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to add this guy. Daniel Holland. Daniel.holland@trinitymirror.com. Ross Robertson. I mean, this guy, again, he just publishes general stuff about... He has to publish more good news stories, but I think... Again, I'm just going to add him. North East England, Ross Robertson. Remember that the northeast of England is one of the lesser populated areas of England or of the UK, of these regions. So that means that we might not be able to find like 10, and that's okay. You don't want to like shove things down the throat of inappropriate people. So Phil Smith, that looks like a sports story, so he might be a sports. Yeah, the Sunderland AFC sports writer. So no. Chris Binding. So he's not clickable. So we go Muckrack. Sunderland Echo journalist. Yeah, so he writes for like all the north east papers. So I'm gonna add him to my list, and he's got his thing in his Twitter. Local democracy. So it's focused on like local government. But you could argue, it's up to the local government to make sure that these that people are getting paid properly. So I think it's relevant enough. Chris Binding, Chris, North East England. Neil Fatkin. Washington born and bred. Health, business, and all things news. Health, business, and all things news. So yeah, I much prefer looking at the Muckrack than at these. I find there's so much going on those pages. It's easy to get a bit overwhelmed. So this is super, super local to Sunderland. I think talking about the Northwest, if they only write for the Sunderland Echo, talk about the Northwest, it's not going to be local enough. So let's go for Teesside Gazette. Teesside Gazette. GazetteLive.co.uk. So site:/GazetteLive.co.uk, and then we go wages. We can go wages up north. East. He's an editor at Reach PLC, which means he'll probably write for loads and loads of different regions. Wales, the Chronicle. So the Gazette part is the one that we're looking for. Mind London, Wales Online. Wales is his main thing, so I do want this guy, but I'm gonna add him to Wales. Oh shit, that's the wrong button there. So Wales, Stephen Smith. Local democracy reporter. What is TUC? Trade Union Congress. Okay, that makes sense. From Middlesbrough Council. Again, I think you'd want more local data if you were going to pitch this guy. Let's just go into his mock rack, because he might, if he writes for all the new Northeast papers, then it might be of interest to him. Mock rack. So Northern Echo, Teesside Live. Okay, that already is good. That already is good. Teesside Live. So Teesside Live is his main thing. Yorkshire Post. So he writes for quite a few. So yeah, I think he is good. We just need to yeah. So we got one more. I'm sure we'll find another one here. Alex O'Leary. Reporter Teesside Live. Nah, I don't know. It just doesn't seem right. Yeah. Parsons, Northern Agenda editor. Was his experience political covering politics from the other side of the North Side divide? So so it's very politically. But he does like to publish sort of like outrageous stuff, so I think he actually would be suitable. Especially if we can talk about, like, you could mention how there are differences between like the North and the South and stuff like that. So I'm going to add him to our list. Rob.Parsons at reachplc.com. He also is clearly open to PR stuff because he's got his email there. So you got Rob Parsons, Rob Parsons at reachplc.com. There. And then so again, you can see pattern we follow is we look at what the main newspapers are per area. We then use site colon search to flush out stories that are related to what we're pitching. We then try and find the journalists and look at what they've written. And then if they're relevant, we add them to our list. So we've got about 20 in an hour. And if you can get 10 of the most relevant ones for each region. I think we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. London wasn't really a region, so we could do 10, plus we've got UK findings, plus we've got like a gender wage gap thing. So in a day we could get like 150 relevant journalists, and I think that's enough for a campaign. So yeah, that's how you find journalists, UK journalists, by the local area.
Okay, so here are the pitches that I wrote for the campaign. So I wrote a national pitch, which I sent to national journalists in personal finance, and then I wrote a regional pitch for regional papers. So the national pitch is subject line: to whatever million full-time workers in the UK due a pay rise in April 2025. Hi, first name. With Rachel Reeves confirming the UK minimum wage is set to £12.21 in April 2025, accounting firm GoForm looked at Office of National Statistics wage data to determine how many full-time workers are due pay rise in April. That link just links to the landing page that I showed you here, and I'll put this in the description along with this Google Doc. You can find a table with our findings below. So this is it broken down by region. Commenting on these findings, Charlie Bailey, the co-founder of GoFormer, said the majority of occupations where salaries fall under the minimum wage are in retail, care, warehousing, and transportation. These roles often have irregular hours, making it more difficult to keep a record of exactly what your hourly pay is. Although the 2025 minimum wage is £12.21 an hour, this is calculated based on each individual paycheck. So if you work an average of 40 hours per week and are paid monthly, then your gross earnings must be at least 195360. If you're worried about talking to your employer about being paid less than the minimum wage, then bear in mind that victimization laws prevent an employer from treating an employee less favorably because they've challenged potentially illegal employment practices. Methodology. To find out the number of people who are due a pay rise in April 2025, GoFormer looked at the Office of National Statistics weekly earnings for October 2024. This report gave us the percentiles of gross weekly earnings for full-time workers by region, and from this we worked out the percentage of full-time workers in each region who are earning less than the 2025 minimum wage of 12.21. I should have said per hour there, but anyway. Since the 12.21 minimum wage only applies to people over the age of 21, we multiplied our percentages by 0.25 to account for the Office of National Statistics finding that 5% of the workforce is under 21. Our findings assume that full-time equates to 40 hours per week. I hope this is useful. If you use it, please cite this study with a link. Thanks, Ollie. Oops. And then the regional pitch is subject line: relevant number of workers in relevant city due a pay rise in April 2025. Hi first. With Rachel Reeves confirming that the UK minimum wage is set to be £12.21 in 2025, accounting firm GoForm will look to Office of National Statistics wage data to determine how many full-time workers in the southeast of England, so this would change by region, are due pay rise in April. You can see our findings below. So we would have just put, for the southeast of England, we would have just put, I'd have just put that table in there, and then that would change by region. Then it's the same comment and the same methodology, and those are the pitches that I sent. Okay, so one problem that I had with this campaign is that every single journalist who published my my article and my data did not link, back to the landing page. So this is how I did my link reclamation. So this was Rami Abu Seta who ended up writing this article. Ended up writing this article for the Argus that also got syndicated to MSN, and he did end up linking in the end. But this is the outreach that I wrote to him, so you can see it's what I showed you earlier. And when he published, unprompted, I said, thank you for publishing. It popped up in my Ahrefs. And then I said, I'll get the client to share it with the socials. Have a great weekend. So being nice. Thank you for sending this over. Great idea. And then that was on the 1st of November. Then there was the weekend. And then on the Tuesday, hi, Rami, I was wondering if it was possible for you to add a link to GoFarmer's full study in the article that you wrote. Here is the full study, and then that's the landing page. I'm going to level with you, mate. I can't build for this work unless I get the link. It's a sad reality of our industry, I know, but it is what it is. Do you mind adding a link? If your hands are tied, I understand, but I'd be really appreciative if you could. Thanks, Ollie. Hi, Ollie. No worries, mate. I'll pop the link in for you. And then, like 30 minutes later, he done it, and I just thanked him. Now where is it? This has a 100% success rate. Journalists are happy to link to good content because they're learning that PRs can't operate without it, and journalists at the end of the day need PRs. So be polite, be honest, and be timely. Like, then the longer you leave it, the less likely they are to add the link. So quick as you can, be polite, be honest, and that's how you do link reclamation for PR data studies.
So if you enjoyed that video, you learned something, and you'd like to work with me, you can go to my website at olliebaysdigital.com, or just Google Ollie Bays Digital, which is the name of this channel, and you will find me, and you can find out more about me there, make an inquiry. If you want to just straight up email me, my email address is ollie, O-L-I, at olliebaysdigital.com. And if you just like the video, but you don't really want to speak to me, fair enough, but please like, comment, and subscribe.